What if I told you that behind Marlon Brando's dazzling smile and undeniable charm, there were secrets so explosive, even Hollywood trembled? Old Hollywood glittered under the spotlight, but behind closed doors, betrayals, forbidden romances, and hidden affairs ran wild. Today, you're stepping into a world they desperately tried to hide, because Marlon Brando's love life was nothing short of a ticking time bomb. Marilyn Monroe, when two legends collide. In the early 1950s, as both Brando and Monroe were ascending to the pinnacle of Hollywood stardom, their paths crossed in a way that set Tinseltown abuzz. Their affair, though brief, was nothing short of electric. Picture this: two of the most desired people in America, both redefining what it meant to be a movie star, finding solace in each other's company. Their chemistry was palpable, their connection immediate. They were frequently spotted at glamorous Hollywood parties, their magnetic presence drawing all eyes. What made their relationship particularly fascinating was the timing. Both were navigating the treacherous waters of sudden, overwhelming fame. Monroe, with her vulnerable beauty, and Brando, with his brooding intensity, seemed to recognize something in each other that few others could understand. "She was a fragile person," Brando later recalled in his autobiography. "I think she was looking for a father figure, and in some ways, maybe I was looking for someone who needed me." Their affair burned brightly, but quickly. Both stars were battling their demons, Monroe with her deep-rooted insecurities and Brando with his tempestuous nature. While their romance didn't stand the test of time, it remains one of Hollywood's most captivating what-if stories. What might have happened if these two iconic figures had found lasting love in each other's arms? Rita Moreno, a passionate storm. If there was one relationship that epitomized the volcanic nature of Brando's romantic entanglements, it was his affair with Rita Moreno. Their love story began when they met on the set of A Streetcar Named Desire, sparking a passionate relationship that would span nearly 8 tumultuous years. Moreno, who would later become the first Latina to win an Oscar, was utterly captivated by Brando's charisma. "He was the daddy that I couldn't please," she once said. "I was completely in love with him, obsessed with him, frightened of him." Their relationship was a roller coaster of extreme highs and devastating lows. Brando's constant infidelities drove Moreno to despair, yet she found herself unable to break free from his magnetic pull. In her autobiography, she described their relationship as 8 years of my life, where I was completely, insanely, obsessively in love with Marlon Brando. The breaking point came when Moreno discovered she was pregnant with Brando's child. Heartbroken by his indifference, she attempted suicide, a dramatic low point that finally led to their separation. Despite the pain, Moreno later acknowledged that her relationship with Brando profoundly shaped her understanding of love and heartbreak, influencing both her personal life and her celebrated career. Years later, when they reconnected on the set of The Night of the Following Day in 1969, Moreno had found the strength to resist his charm. "He was still trying to get me back," she revealed, "but I knew better by then." Tarita Terriipaya, The Island Romance. Sometimes truth is more romantic than fiction, and Brando's relationship with Tarita Terriipaya proves this point. Their love story began in 1962 on the set of Mutiny on the Bounty in Tahiti, where Tarita, a local woman with no acting experience, was cast opposite the Hollywood legend. Brando was immediately enchanted by the young Tahitian beauty. Their on-screen chemistry quickly developed into a real-life romance, despite the significant age gap and cultural differences. In many ways, Tarita represented everything that was missing in Brando's chaotic Hollywood existence: simplicity, authenticity, and a connection to nature. Their romance led to marriage in 1962, becoming Brando's third and longest marriage. So profound was his love for Tarita and her homeland that he purchased an entire island in the Tahitian archipelago, Tetiaroa, which became his paradise away from the pressures of fame. Together, they had 2 children, but even the idyllic setting couldn't contain Brando's restless spirit. His continued affairs and unpredictable behavior eventually led to their separation, though they never officially divorced. Tarita remained an important presence in Brando's life until his death. In her memoir, Marlon, My Love and My Torment, she wrote, "He was the love of my life, but loving him was never easy. Her story reveals how even in what seemed like paradise, Brando's complex nature made lasting happiness elusive. Richard Pryor, breaking boundaries. Perhaps the most unexpected of Brando's relationships was his brief affair with legendary comedian Richard Pryor in the 1970s. This revelation, confirmed years later by Pryor's widow Jennifer Lee, challenged Hollywood's rigid social norms and showcased Brando's fluid approach to sexuality. In an era when LGBTQ+ relationships were heavily stigmatized, especially among celebrities, the connection between these two cultural icons was groundbreaking. Both men were revolutionaries in their respective fields. Brando for his naturalistic acting style, and Pryor for his boundary-pushing comedy that fearlessly tackled race, politics, and sexuality. It was the 70s. Everything was free love, Jennifer Lee Pryor explained when confirming the relationship. If you did enough cocaine, you'd sleep with a radiator and send it flowers in the morning. Pryor himself was refreshingly open about his sexuality in his stand-up routines, often incorporating his experiences into his comedy. For Brando, the relationship with Pryor was part of his lifelong rejection of societal expectations and constraints. Their affair, while brief, has become an important chapter in understanding both men's complex legacies. It speaks to their courage in following their desires in an unaccepting time and stands as a testament to their authentic approach to life, both on and off the stage. Natalie Wood, a star-crossed encounter. The affair between Marlon Brando and Natalie Wood in the 1950s brought together two of Hollywood's most captivating talents at crucial points in their careers. Wood, transitioning from her child star days to adult roles, was drawn to Brando's rebellious persona and undeniable charisma. At just 17, Wood had already spent most of her life in front of cameras, while Brando, in his early 30s, was revolutionizing acting with his method approach. Their worlds collided at a Hollywood party, sparking an intense but short-lived romance. For Wood, the relationship represented a break from her carefully constructed public image. Having grown up under the controlling influence of her mother and the studio system, her attraction to Brando, Hollywood's original bad boy, was partly an act of rebellion. Brando later described Wood as sensitive and vulnerable, yet bubbling with enthusiasm and talent. Their connection was meaningful enough that Wood later cited Brando as a profound influence on both her acting approach and her understanding of herself. Though their affair was fleeting, it marked an important chapter in Wood's evolution as both an actress and a woman. For Brando, it was another in a string of passionate encounters, but for Wood, it represented a pivotal step toward defining herself on her terms in an industry that had controlled her image since childhood. Movita Castaneda, the secret second wife. Before Brando became a household name, he fell deeply in love with Mexican actress Movita Castaneda, a relationship that would eventually lead to his second marriage. Their romance began in the early 1950s as a carefully guarded secret and lasted for years before they finally wed. Castaneda, 8 years Brando's senior and already established in Hollywood, offered stability and understanding in the face of his growing fame. She had appeared in the original Mutiny on the Bounty in 1935, ironically the same story that would later bring Brando together with Tarita. Their relationship was characterized by intense passion and dramatic arguments. Castaneda was one of the few women who could match Brando's fiery temperament, standing her ground when many others would have retreated. She once said, "Marlon needs someone who can be strong when he cannot be." The couple married in 1960 and had 2 children together, but their happiness was short-lived. Brando's wandering eye and increasingly erratic behavior strained their relationship beyond repair. The final blow came during the filming of Mutiny on the Bounty, when Brando became involved with Tarita Terriapaya. Castaneda and Brando divorced in 1962, the same year he married Tarita. Despite the painful end to their relationship, Castaneda rarely spoke ill of Brando in public. "He was a complicated man," she once remarked, "capable of great love but never able to accept being loved in return." Maria Schneider, a controversial connection. Not all of Brando's relationships can be viewed through a romantic lens. His involvement with Maria Schneider during the filming of Last Tango in Paris, 1972, remains one of the most controversial chapters in his legacy, highlighting troubling power dynamics in Hollywood. Schneider was just 19 when she was cast opposite the 48-year-old Brando in Bernardo Bertolucci's explicit drama. The film, with its graphic depiction of sexual violence, pushed boundaries and shocked audiences worldwide. But the real story behind the scenes was even more disturbing. Years later, Schneider revealed that she felt manipulated and exploited during filming, particularly during the infamous butter scene. She stated that while the scene was in the script, the specific details were sprung on her at the last minute, leaving her feeling a little raped, both by Marlon and by Bertolucci. Brando and Bertolucci had discussed the scene without informing Schneider in advance, a decision that would haunt her for the rest of her life. "I was so young and relatively inexperienced," she later said. "Marlon should have protected me, but he was following Bertolucci's lead." The relationship between Brando and Schneider extended beyond the set, though it was never clearly defined. Whether it was mentorship, friendship, or something more intimate, the stark power imbalance between them colored their interactions. For Schneider, the experience marked a painful chapter that overshadowed her career, while for Brando, it became one of his most controversial legacies. Diane Keaton. The Godfather Connection. When The Godfather premiered in 1972, audiences were captivated by the on-screen chemistry between Brando's Don Vito Corleone and Diane Keaton's Kay Adams. What many didn't know was that behind the scenes, the two actors had developed a brief but meaningful connection. Keaton, still establishing herself in Hollywood, was initially intimidated by Brando's legendary status. "He was Marlon Brando," she later recalled. "He wasn't just an actor, he was the actor everyone wanted to be." Their affair, which began during production and continued briefly afterward, was kept largely under wraps. For Keaton, the relationship represented an important chapter in her personal and professional development. Working closely with Brando influenced her approach to acting, encouraging her to embrace spontaneity and emotional truth. Unlike many of Brando's relationships, their parting was amicable. Keaton moved on to a high-profile relationship with Al Pacino, her co-star in The Godfather Part 2, while Brando continued his famously complex love life. Years later, Keaton would reflect on her time with Brando with fondness rather than regret. "He taught me to be fearless," she said, "not just in acting, but in life." The brief romance, while not one of Brando's most dramatic affairs, offers a glimpse into how his influence extended beyond the screen to shape the careers and lives of those around him. Mickey Dolenz, The Unexpected Musician Affair. In the swinging 60s, as boundaries between entertainment industries blurred, Marlon Brando's romantic interests expanded beyond Hollywood to the music world. His brief affair with Mickey Dolenz, the charismatic drummer and vocalist of the Monkees, surprised many and exemplified the free-spirited atmosphere of the era. Dolenz, at the height of his fame with the Monkees, represented youth, energy, and the cultural revolution sweeping America. Brando, ever drawn to vibrant personalities, found Dolenz's exuberance and musical talent captivating. Their worlds collided at a Hollywood party in 1966, leading to a connection that neither man publicly discussed for decades. Years later, in his autobiography, Dolenz alluded to the relationship with careful discretion. "There were certain figures in Hollywood who took me under their wing, so to speak. One Oscar winner in particular taught me a great deal about fame and its pitfalls." For Brando, the affair with Dolenz was part of his lifelong pattern of following his desires without concern for conventional expectations. For Dolenz, it was an unexpected chapter in his journey through fame, a brief but memorable encounter with one of cinema's greatest legends. Their relationship, while short-lived, speaks to Brando's constant search for authentic connection across all boundaries of gender, profession, and background. In a decade defined by its rejection of traditional values, Brando and Dolenz embodied the spirit of exploration and freedom that characterized the time. Joanne Woodward, a meeting of rising stars. Before Paul Newman came into her life, Joanne Woodward shared a brief but significant connection with Marlon Brando. Their affair in the mid-1950s brought together two of Hollywood's most promising talents at a pivotal moment in both their careers. Woodward, with her refined beauty and remarkable depth as an actress, was just beginning to make her mark in Hollywood. Brando, already established as a revolutionary talent after A Streetcar Named Desire and On the Waterfront, was navigating the complexities of fame, Their romance blossomed during a time when both were seeking to define themselves in an industry known for creating and destroying identities. For Woodward, the relationship with Brando represented a passionate chapter before finding her lifelong love in Newman. Unlike many of Brando's affairs, which ended in drama or heartbreak, his time with Woodward concluded amicably. We recognized something in each other. Ambition, perhaps, or a certain approach to the craft, Woodward later reflected, but we were headed in different directions. Woodward would go on to marry Newman in 1958, forming one of Hollywood's most enduring and admired marriages. Brando continued his search for connection through dozens of relationships. Their brief intersection offers a glimpse of what might have been, a union of two extraordinary talents who ultimately found their destinies elsewhere. Marlon Brando's affairs shattered the illusion of Hollywood perfection, and yet so many of his secrets are still buried deep. But here's the real question. How many more hidden romances and betrayals are still locked away, just waiting to be uncovered? If you think Brando's secrets were shocking, just wait till you hear what other Hollywood legends were hiding. Hit that subscribe button because the truth is darker and juicier than you ever imagined. And tell me in the comments, which old Hollywood star do you think had the most shocking secret life?